Have you ever been so focused on surviving the hard parts of parenting that you accidentally stopped seeing the good parts too? My son graduated this past weekend, and while I sat there watching him walk across the stage, all I kept thinking is, he did it. We did it. But what surprised me most was realizing how many beautiful moments existed in the middle of all those hard years too. Mama, are you tired of meltdowns stealing the peace in your home? Welcome to Parenting Beyond Meltdowns. I'm Amanda, a Christian life coach and a mom of a strong-willed neurospicy teen. If you've tried everything from consequences, parenting books, crying out to the Father, and still feel like you're failing, you're not alone. Inside this podcast, we'll explore how faith, emotional regulation, and connection work together so that you can parent from a place of peace, even in the hardest moments. You don't have to hold it all together here. This is a safe space to lay it all down. Welcome. Before we jump into today's episode, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who left reviews and shared the podcast during my birthday giveaway. It truly means more to me than you know because every review helps another overwhelmed mama realize that she's not alone. And I want to say a big congratulations to Jessica M. for winning our giveaway. Mama, if you've been listening week after week and wanting more encouragement like this throughout the week, I'd love for you to join our insiders list. That's where I send weekly encouragement, emotional regulation reminders, behind-the-scene reflections, and faith-filled support for mamas raising strong-willed and neurodivergent children. You can join through today's link in the show notes. This past weekend, my son graduated from high school. And honestly, I think I spent most of the ceremony just sitting there taking it all in. Watching him walk with the other students, listening to the speeches, seeing him cross the stage, and I just kept thinking, we did it. We actually got here. Not because everything was perfect, not because all the hard had suddenly disappeared, but because there were years that I genuinely didn't know what this moment would look like. Would he walk across the stage? 5 years ago when we hit rock bottom, when things felt chaotic and uncertain, when I was constantly worried about the future, I could not fully picture this day. And I know some of you listening right now understand that feeling. The feeling of wondering, will things ever get better? Will my child be okay? Will we make it through this? And what hit me during graduation was not just pride, it was gratitude. Gratitude that we were sitting in a moment that I once could not see. But honestly, what surprised me the most was realizing something else too. That the hard years were not only hard, there were beautiful moments in there too. And I think for a really long time that I missed them. Not because I didn't love my child, but because I was just surviving. I was so focused on behavior, focused on the next problem, on what was going wrong, what other people thought about me and my child, that my eyes weren't really opened to the good. I was constantly bracing for the next hard thing, even during good moments. And as a mama, that's exhausting. Because when you stay in survival mode long enough, you stop looking for the beauty altogether. You stop seeing the humor, the tenderness, the connection, the tiny moments that remind you that your child actually is underneath all of that behavior. And I think one of the biggest things that changed for me over the years was learning to see beyond the behavior, not excusing it, not pretending hard things weren't hard, but understanding that behavior is communication and dysregulation means that something else is going on underneath, that maybe my child isn't okay. And when I started changing how I viewed him, I started seeing him again. Not just meltdowns, not just conflict, not just dysregulation. I could see his humor, his kindness. I could see him. That little person that God created and put into a 6'3" body when it was all said and done. And honestly, that changed a lot for me. Because now when I look back over these years, the moments that stand out most are not necessarily the big milestones. It's the little moments in between, the moments of connection, the moments where our relationship survived hard seasons. And one moment that I kept thinking about this weekend was a moment that I've shared on the podcast before. One day he came home from school. I was asking him to do chores. He didn't want to. We were both triggered. We both said words. And then a few minutes later, he came over to me while I was sitting in a chair, all 6'3" of him, holding his broom that he had been sweeping with, and he knelt down beside me and he apologized. Not because someone made him, because he realized that repair was important. And I think if you would have told me years ago that we would have had moments like that, I don't think I would have believed you. Because back then I was so focused on surviving, believing that he was the problem and that I just needed to solve or fix him, thinking that if he could just be different, things would be better. But I finally realized that I was the only thing that I could control in our relationship. And what I want you to hear today is that you don't have to wait until some future milestone to finally let yourself notice and experience the good. You can celebrate the small wins now. Because yes, graduation is beautiful, but life didn't become suddenly perfect afterwards. This week, we've already been stepping into a new season of unknown. Jobs, adulthood, responsibility, transition. There will always be another season that requires faith. Another moment where we don't fully know what comes next. But maybe peace was never supposed to come from finally having certainty. Maybe part of healing is learning how to breathe in the middle of the imperfect, unfinished stories. Learning how to notice the goodness of God in the middle of real life, not just after everything becomes easy. And honestly, I think some of the moments that sustain us the most are the tiny ones that we almost miss while surviving. A laugh in the kitchen, the conversation in the car, the repair after conflict, the moment your child invites you into their world, the glimpse of who they are underneath all of the hard, because those moments matter too, sometimes more than we realize. After graduation, my son's teacher and an aide and the principal that we've interacted with the most, I guess probably since late middle school, early high school, he was saying that he couldn't come to the graduation party. And so I went over to give him a hug and I thanked him and I just started crying. Just even thinking about it makes me cry. And as we were embracing, I was just having this moment of that we did it. Not just me, not just Noah, but even the principal, because this poor man, he gave me his cell phone number years ago, and he probably regrets that decision. Because I am not ashamed to call or text and ask for help and follow up and make sure all the things were happening, especially this year with graduation. But just this moment of we had been fighting for, that he and I had been fighting for the last 4 years, and where we started from where he became Noah's principal to this day, to showing up for graduation and being there, was really a full circle moment. I realize now as I'm even recording this podcast that in 4th grade, I think, the principal at the time put Noah in the behavioral program. And in that program, where we live in a small town, they send all of the behavioral kids to a specific school in another town. And so while Noah technically was a high school student of the town we live in, he was technically going to another school and had a totally different principal and all of that. And so in 4th grade, he was told by this principal that we're going to go put you in this program to help you and blah, 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 and we'll bring you back. And he said he'd visit, and he never did. And throughout the years between Noah being in that program and coming home to homeschool and then going back, I mean, it just ended up being the thing that was the best fit in the essence of that it was a small class size and he could get individual help. But it's just the fact that he put him in this program and then he left and never came back. But yet we've had this redemption of this principal who's been with us. And this is actually his last year. He's retiring. And I just thanked him. I thanked him for waiting one more year. And it just felt like a very full circle moment of that we finally arrived at this place that, you know, he promised me we would get to, but I didn't know what it would look like. I couldn't see it. We just kept working towards it. And Noah honestly ended up having more of a high school experience than I expected him to in the last couple of years because of just the way they did things. They actually integrated the behavioral program into that particular town's school. So Noah got to go to a regular high school and interact with kids and go to prom and have a girlfriend and all of the things. And it just blessed me because the Lord brought people into his life that truly saw him and they saw the good and the joy and who he really is, just like what I'm talking about in this episode. They got to see that. And most people throughout his life have not taken the time to see that. And I think it's so important for us as parents because a lot of times the world doesn't see that, the light that they have. And I think it's important for us to remember that. And sometimes it can be hard and we can forget. But I think it's important for us to see their light and who God created them to be. Our faith anchor today is Psalms 34:8. It says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." I think sometimes the goodness of God shows up in the quieter ways, quieter than we expect, in the repair of relationships and the small moments of connection and glimpses of hope during the hard seasons, not just the finish line, but in the middle. This week, I want you to intentionally pause and notice one thing about your child beyond their behavior, not achievement, not performance, just who they are. What is the light that the Father has put in them? Is it their humor, their creativity, their tenderness, their curiosity, their heart? And when you notice it, I want you to pause long enough to really let yourself feel it, to take it in. Like that hug that I gave my son's principal, like in that moment, I just felt everything, the bittersweetness of it all, and the joy that we did it, that my son did it. But I'm here to take some credit, if I'm being honest. But I want you to just really settle into that feeling of just feeling the joy and the peace and the gratefulness of who God created them to be that the rest of the world does not see or take the time to see. Because those small moments matter. And sometimes those moments are exactly what help us keep going through the hard seasons. As I mentioned, we're heading into a new season. It's like we were in a tunnel and then we came out and the light shone on us. We got to see the sun. And now we're going into a different tunnel. And it's not that it's bad, it's just different. And what does that look like of being able to recognize those moments and hold on to the joy and the gratefulness that we experience in this moment of graduation or whatever it may be for you? And again, it doesn't have to be big moments, but can we hold on to that in the middle until we come out of the next tunnel and see the sun again? Mama, if you've been listening to this episode and it's made you realize how long you've been stuck in survival mode, constantly bracing for the next meltdown, reacting faster than you want to, feeling emotionally exhausted, walking on eggshells, or feeling like you can't see anything besides their behavior, I want you to know that you are not failing. Your nervous system is overwhelmed. And when you live in survival mode long enough, it becomes really hard to stay connected to your child because you're spending all of your energy just trying to make it through the day. And that's why this work matters. Inside an Anchored Mama coaching call, we slow everything down. We work through emotional regulation, nervous system awareness, thought patterns, rebuilding connection, and learning how to respond with more peace and steadiness instead of constantly reacting from overwhelm. Because the goal is not becoming a perfect mama. The goal is helping you to stop feeling like you're drowning in the middle of your own life, helping you to breathe again, helping you to reconnect with your child, and helping you to see beyond the hard. Mama, you don't have to figure this out alone. You can book an Anchored Mama session through the link in the show notes today, or head over to amandacalfee.com/session. Hey, sweet mama, I hope you loved today's episode. Can you do me a favor? If this episode spoke to your heart, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a mama in your life who needs to know they are not alone? Also, would you leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts for me? It blesses my heart to know that this show is giving you hope in hard moments. All right, I'm off to grab some protein because love and grace flows easier when you're not just running on fumes and coffee. I'll meet you back here next week for another honest and hope-filled conversation. In the meantime, mama, stay rooted in faith and anchored in love.